She walked into Dayo Clinic with trembling hands and a quiet prayer, not for a miracle, just for mercy. The pain in her chest was real, but not as deep as the sorrow in her eyes. She believed the white coats were guardians of life. She didn't know that this would be the last place she'd ever see. Inside those pale blue walls, she was alone but hopeful. Her name was Amara, 27, a kindergarten teacher who still believed kindness changed lives. Her admission file said fatigue, abdominal pain, but her silence said more. Nobody asked why she cried at night. It wasn't the illness that broke her. It was what came after dusk. The clinic thinned out, and with it, accountability. Dr. Makel, the night supervisor, wore a gentle smile. But there were shadows behind his eyes. Amara's chart disappeared from the nurse's station for hours. CCTV footage from that night went missing. Only the cleaning lady recalled seeing the doctor enter room 3023 times, unaccompanied. No alarms were raised. No one questioned him. Silence settled over Dayo Clinic like a fog. The kind that hides monsters in plain sight. Her screams were muffled behind a locked door, drowned by the hum of an oxygen machine. By morning, her eyes were swollen shut, her gown torn, blood smeared across her bedding. The nurse on duty claimed Amara had fallen. But bruises don't lie. And the dead don't speak. Detective Marie Kenson was called in quietly. The clinic wanted discretion. But Marie had buried her own sister 3 years ago, same bruises, same silence. She looked at Amara's body and saw injustice, not a mistake. This wasn't medicine. It was murder. Behind the Dayo Clinic's glowing signboard were layers of greed. Hospital Director Baines had a deal with government inspectors, no surprise visits, no deep audits. What happened inside stayed buried. Until now. Until Amara forced the walls to bleed their secrets. Amara had come in 2 weeks earlier too, same symptoms, same fear in her voice. That visit, she was attended by a young intern, Peter Mallow, who remembered her shaking. He prescribed rest, vitamins, and whispered, "Are you safe?" She didn't answer. She just left. Peter wanted to help, but he was buried under bills, paying off loans, working extra hours. He saw Dr. Makel slip into rooms late at night more than once. Once, he reported it to head nurse Janelle. The next week, he was reassigned to janitorial duty. Amara's post-mortem revealed signs of repeated assault. Multiple fractures. Internal bleeding. She hadn't died quickly. She'd fought. Desperately. The coroner paused 3 times while reading the report, asking softly, who could do this in a place meant for healing? When Marie questioned Makel, he smiled coldly, asked for a lawyer, and walked out of the room. No emotion. No denial. The clinic backed him with statements about his decades of service and baseless accusations. But a rumor started to echo through the staff lounges. Nurse Letitia, 3 months pregnant, finally spoke. She'd seen Amara before, walking out of Makel's office trembling. She remembered thinking, why is no one protecting her? But fear kept her quiet. She needed her job. Needed the insurance. So she said nothing. Until now. There had been whispers, other women, same pattern. Students, low-income patients, no family nearby. Vulnerable. One nurse, dismissed last year, posted anonymously online about a predator in scrubs. The post was deleted in hours. Her account. Gone. Her address. Empty. Marie traced Amara's phone history. 2 days before her death, she called a women's shelter in St. Douglas. The call lasted 17 minutes. She didn't leave her name, but she said, "They don't believe me. He's going to kill me if I speak." She was right. Amara's mother, who lives 2 towns away, arrived late to the clinic. She collapsed when she saw her daughter's lifeless body. Through sobs, she whispered, she was getting better. She was healing. Why didn't you protect her? No one had an answer. The clinic board held an emergency meeting. Half the members voted to suspend Makel. The other half blocked it. Why? Because Michael held dirt on them. Prescription fraud. Under-the-table payments. Every silence he bought, every secret he buried, was currency. A junior lab technician named Tolu stepped forward. He had copies of blood reports that were altered. He'd been scared for weeks, but Amara's death lit a fire in him. I can't live with this anymore, he said. I have 2 sisters. It could have been them. Marie built her case piece by piece. It wasn't just one man. It was a system. Rotting from the inside. Funded by desperation. Protected by bureaucracy. And every file, every ignored complaint, led to the same conclusion: Amara wasn't the first. Just the latest. The more Marie dug, the more walls she hit. Witnesses vanished. Files were corrupted. Phone lines were disconnected. A whistleblower was found dead, ruled suicide. But the note said, I didn't kill her, but I knew. That makes me just as guilty. Amara's final moments haunted everyone who touched the case. She had trusted. She had sought help. She had walked into a place of healing and found her death. Marie couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. She kept replaying Amara's voice on a voicemail. Please, don't let them win. A reporter named Sam Adekoya caught wind of the case. He wasn't afraid of lawsuits. He wanted justice. His piece went live at midnight. By morning, it had over 3 million views. The headline, Murdered by Medicine, the Dayo Clinic Nightmare. Public outrage exploded. Protests outside the clinic. Staff resignations. Families demanding answers. Politicians backtracking. And still, Michael roamed free. Suited. Smiling. Above it all. Nothing's been proven, he told cameras. But the world no longer believed him. Then came the break. Letitia had recorded everything. Every confession. Every warning. Hidden in her child's toy camera. She handed it to Marie, shaking. If anything happens to me, promise you'll make it matter. It was enough. Enough to bring them down. Warrants were issued. Arrests made. The clinic board was dissolved. Michael resisted. Even tried to flee. But Marie was there. Cold eyes. Steady voice. You're done, she said. And for the first time, he looked afraid. Like a man who knew the walls were finally closing in. Amara was buried in a quiet corner of Moores Hill Cemetery. The sky wept as her mother whispered, I'm sorry I wasn't there. But people came. Hundreds. Strangers. Allies. Survivors. She had become more than a victim. She had become the voice that broke the silence. The court hearings were packed. Families of other victims began to step forward. One by one, they told their stories. Same doctor. Same room. Same pain. The judge, once skeptical, now stared at Michael like he was something unrecognizable. A monster in human skin. Tolu testified with tears in his eyes. I knew. I kept quiet. I thought I'd lose everything. Marie looked at him, not with anger, but understanding. You chose to speak when it mattered, she said. Redemption wasn't instant. But it had begun. Letitia went into hiding. Anonymous threats poured in. She'd named powerful people. Exposed a ring of silence. The state failed to protect her. It was a local pastor who hid her family, fed them, kept them safe. Sometimes, justice depends on strangers. Michael's defense team painted him as a victim of cancel culture. He saved lives for decades, they said. He's a respected man. But no reputation outweighs the voices of the broken. And Amara's voice, silent in life, was thunder in court. Sam's article was nominated for a national award. But he didn't care about accolades. He cared about the message. There are thousands of Amaras, he told the media. We can't unsee this. We can't unhear it. We owe them our outrage. Marie's office received over 200 messages in a week. Anonymous letters. Tips. Old files. One came from a former clinic board member. It read, "There's more. Look beneath the donations. Follow the private patients. You'll see who was truly protected." The trail led to state officials. Health board directors. Names that rarely made headlines. They'd fast-tracked funding to Dayo Clinic, ignored complaints, buried reports. Why? Because silence was profitable. And Amara had interrupted the money. A hidden ledger was found in Bain's apartment. It listed payouts, dates, initials. A history of cover-ups, Marie said. One entry stood out. 302, repeat, keep quiet, $10K. Room 302. Amara's room. Bought and paid for. Her pain reduced to a line item. In the weeks following, Dayo Clinic was shut down permanently. Equipment seized. Staff scattered. Some found work elsewhere. Others disappeared. But the building remained, boarded up, a ghost in the middle of Moshester. A monument to betrayal. Amara's story was added to a national curriculum on medical ethics. Students now read about her. Debate her case. Learn from her tragedy. She became more than a lesson. She became a mirror. A reminder of what happens when good people stay silent. Peter Mallow now leads a nonprofit called Safe Ward. He helps whistleblowers in the medical field. "I couldn't save her," he said at a rally. "But I can fight so no one else ends up like her." Every speech he gives, he ends with her name. Amara. Letitia returned home a year later, holding her baby girl. She named her Amma, short for Amara. "She'll grow up knowing the truth," she said. "And she'll know her name means courage. Her name means justice." The crowd applauded. Some wept. Makel was sentenced to life without parole. The courtroom clapped quietly. There was no joy in justice. Only a grim silence. As he was led away, he didn't look back. But Marie watched him go. "That's for all of them," she whispered. Baines took a plea deal. Lesser charges, reduced time. It stung. But the evidence was crumbling. The system he corrupted had also protected him. Marie hated it. But she remembered Amara's voice. "Don't let them win." So she moved forward. Marie received a letter. No name. Just a single line. "She saved me." No return address. Just that message. And it reminded her, Amara's legacy wasn't justice alone. It was hope. It was the strength to speak, to fight, even when afraid. Sam's documentary aired on public television. It followed every twist. Every truth. It didn't sensationalize. It humanized. The final scene lingered on Amara's photo, with her voice from a voicemail, "I just want to be okay." And then silence. A scholarship was launched in her name. For women in medicine. For survivors of violence. It was funded by thousands, ordinary people who were moved, outraged, inspired. One girl wrote, "Because of Amara, I'm not afraid to become a doctor." Marie took a sabbatical. Went home to the farm where she grew up. One evening, she stood by a field, whispering her sister's name, then Amara's. "I did what I could," she said to the wind. "I hope it was enough." The sky stayed silent. But it felt lighter. On the anniversary of Amara's death, candles were lit outside the old clinic. People gathered. No speeches. Just silence. Her mother sat in front, holding her daughter's picture. A stranger touched her shoulder. "She changed everything," he said. Years later, a little girl named Amma asked, "Why do people remember Amara?" Her mother smiled. "Because she was brave. Because she spoke even when no one listened. And because the world changed when it finally did." The little girl nodded. "Then I'll be brave too." Some scars never fade. Some wounds never close. But in the cracks of broken systems, light finds its way through. Amara's story didn't end in room 302. It echoed beyond those walls, into the hearts of people who chose to care. Moshester still carries the stain. But it also carries the lesson. Trust is not a gift. It's a responsibility. And those who break it must be held accountable. That truth was carved into the town's memory, etched by the cost of one woman's life. Marie returned to duty. Stronger. Sharper. Her team knew her differently now. They saw fire in her calm. Every case matters, she told a rookie. Even if the world wants to move on, we don't let it. We carry it. Until it's finished. Amara's name was etched into a wall of remembrance, beside others lost to institutional violence. But hers stood out. People paused longer. Said her name softer. Lit candles more gently. Because her story had turned pain into purpose. And so, the world moved forward. Not forgetting, but remembering differently. Amara's story remained, not just as a cautionary tale, but as a call to action. Because justice isn't loud. It's steady. And sometimes, it begins with a whisper from the grave.